All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez and the rematch with Dmitry Bivol, which he is trying to make, and a world-renowned trainer, BOZY Ennis, tells him, man, you better stay away from Bivol. It's going to get worse the second time. Stay down at that weight. Fight these other guys. Also, a little bit about Andre Ward. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Yep, we are going to talk again about Canelo Alvarez and Dmitry Bivol. One of the best trainers in boxing speaks out about what he thinks is going to take place in the future if Canelo Alvarez fights Bivol in the rematch again, and that is BOZY Ennis, the father and trainer of Hearn Ennis. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about Andre Ward, and just for the fun of it, for me, that to tell you, man, Canelo Alvarez is tailor-made for Andre Ward based off what BOZY Ennis had to say. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis, and live streams that we do pretty much every day. So join the community, check out the conversations, and we should have a really good time talking this boxing. All right, so just last Saturday, Canelo Alvarez fought Dmitry Bivol for Dmitry Bivol's 175-pound WBA championship, or the WBA Super Championship, and lost by unanimous decision in the scorecards, which were 115 to 113 across the board. In my opinion, completely lopsided scorecards in favor of Canelo, even though he still lost the fight, right? Because there ain't no way. Lopsided is probably the wrong way to say it. I think that my prediction for the fight was that Bivol would be able to win the fight in the ring, but as far as the scorecards go, that Dmitry Bivol was going to get robbed. Now, even though Dmitry Bivol won the fight, Dmitry Bivol still got robbed because he won that fight, in my opinion, around 10 rounds to 2. Some people said 9 rounds to 3, and a shocking number of people say 12 rounds to nothing. One-sided fight, pretty much. So, Hearn Ennis' father on a channel called YSM Sports Media, shout out to YSM Sports Media, does very, very good interviews with BOZY Ennis, a bunch of other guys that are in that gym out of Philadelphia, out of the great city of Philadelphia. I always got to make sure I say the great city, because that's where my father's family's from, the great city of Philadelphia. Had talked about before the fight what people needed to do to beat Canelo Alvarez, which was be able to fight Canelo Alvarez on the inside, not just be able to fight him on the outside, catch his punches, on the outside, but also go to Canelo Alvarez and be able to fight Canelo Alvarez on the inside, because Canelo Alvarez fights in spurts. And he said that is exactly what Dmitry Bivol did in the fight with Canelo Alvarez. Basically, beat him by being consistent with how often he was fighting in the rounds. Dmitry Bivol was catching the shots of Canelo on his gloves, with a high guard. And despite the fact that Canelo Alvarez was trying to hit him on the arms and get him to drop his hands, he stayed very defensively responsible. And also stepped to Canelo Alvarez, and at points in time started lighting off on Canelo Alvarez up against the ropes and in the middle of the ring, right? Now, when BOZY Ennis was asked what does he think is going to happen in the next fight with him, he said, look, man, Dmitry Bivol is going to be worse for Canelo Alvarez in the second fight than it was in the first fight. And that is what Dmitry Bivol himself said, and his manager said, or excuse me, his trainer, Julio Diaz, I do believe Julio Diaz was in the corner for him, said, look, man, it's going to be worse for him because we're not afraid of him. There's nothing else Canelo Alvarez is going to be able to do. The power didn't affect Dmitry Bivol. So the fact that he's not able to hurt Dmitry Bivol, he's not going to catch him with some real clean shot. Dmitry Bivol is bigger. He's got faster hands, and he now has the approach that he knows is going to beat Canelo Alvarez, which is pretty much just waiting for Canelo Alvarez to stop loading up on big shots and then just stick him in the middle of that, stick him in the middle while he's taking those breaks. Step to him, push Canelo Alvarez back, and he said the fight may actually get worse for him the second time around. And I absolutely agree, and I would hope that Canelo Alvarez takes the advice of Eddie Hearn, which is not to fight Dmitry Bivol, right away. For Canelo to go fight somebody else at a lower weight class. Now, what Eddie Hearn is saying is he wants to see him fight Gennady Golovkin. I'm telling you, man, I don't want to see that fight. I want to see the fight with Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo, or David Benavides at 168 pounds for the belts that Canelo Alvarez holds at 168 pounds. But at the same time, this is my personal opinion, I think the book is out on Canelo, and I think that more than likely Canelo is going to lose against the next guy he fights if it is not, as long as it's a serious fight and it's not Gennady Golovkin. If he fights Charlo next, I think Charlo's going to can beat him. David Benavides fights him. I think David Benavides especially now, I do believe, has a chance to beat him, man, because Dmitry Bivol is going to step to Canelo Alvarez, and he has very, very fast hands, and he's going to put a lot of punches. He's going to throw a lot of punches and be very active. And Canelo Alvarez is just like you saw in that fight before, and you've seen pretty much in many other fights. Canelo Alvarez is fighting in spurts and pretty much looking for the one-shot home run hit against David Benavides. If that home run doesn't come, man, those punches, and he's going to be pressing Canelo Alvarez and forcing Canelo Alvarez to fight the entire fight. And if Canelo can't hurt David Benavides, there is a good chance, or there is a chance that Canelo Alvarez may get stopped, man. They may actually take that towel and throw that mug in there, man, because there was times during the Dmitry Bivol fight where I was like, wow, if he's really hurting Canelo, really knocking Canelo Alvarez back. And I do believe that David Benavides is every bit as big and every bit as strong as as Dmitry Bivol. I would say though that the difference between Dmitry Bivol and Benavides is, from what I can see, is that David Benavides doesn't really fight behind a jab as much. He's, walking you down and he's hitting you with uppercuts. He's landing hooks, straight right hands, right? But he doesn't stay as disciplined behind a jab. However, the major difference in hand speed, I think, will make a big difference in there, man. So I'm telling you, man, I don't really know how Canelo Alvarez is going to recover from that loss, especially seeing as it was just absolutely positively so one-sided, and it was not just the size of the guy. Even though I don't doubt that the size and the strength of Dmitry Bivol had something to do with it, but I think it had a lot to do with his ability to take those shots. But we're going to see. I know Canelo Alvarez is not going to retire. More than likely, he's going to make that rematch with Dmitry Bivol. And if he does, man, some people say he can win. I'm telling you, I agree with BOZY Ennis and think it may get worse. Now, as far as Andre Ward, I just wanted to say this on video. Anybody that came to my chat talking about Andre Ward, what Canelo Alvarez was going to do to Andre Ward at 175 if those guys fought one another, please don't ever do that again. Andre Ward would absolutely mop Canelo Alvarez was in that fight with Dmitry Bivol. And by the way, he'd also mopped Dmitry Bivol too. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.